What's going on, world? This is Grandmaster Facts, and this is another Party Nerds exclusive. And I'm here to introduce the top 5 reasons why The Mandalorian, new on Disney Plus, is absolutely going to improve, if not save, the Star Wars franchise. But first, if you can hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, we'll keep you up to date on any exclusive content by myself, Grandmaster Facts, and the Party Nerds. Now, spoiler alert for anybody that has not taken the time to actually watch the episode, but I'm going to be dropping a little bit of nuggets here and there, so best believe if you have not seen the episode, feel free to sign off immediately. Let's get into it. Now, number 5. Now, the series as a whole is going to basically take you back as far as the aesthetics and how the original trilogy actually looked, where you're realizing it's as they used to proclaim the original Star Wars film, the New Hope, it was categorized as a Western in outer space. Now, what you'll see basically, of course, we're not going to get the classic Tatooine looks or car looks that are basically like we've seen in Star Wars movies in the past, but the cantina scenes to the classic characters, the other species that we've seen in the past are definitely highlighted here. Number 4, we get a new general sneak peek as to the timeline that this is actually happening. This is about 7 years after the fall of the Empire, so basically this is 7 years after Return of the Jedi, where the New Republic is now taking fold, but the Mandalorian seems to be on the fringes out of the reach of the New Republic, where basically people are kind of collecting themselves and getting ready for a new government. And you see that the Empire has basically been broken down into kind of factions per se, led by one of them being led by Giancarlo Esposito, who I cannot wait to see how his character basically takes development. Number 3, this is not about Boba and Jango Fett, okay? Even though in classic bounty hunter Mandalorian folklore, they're pretty much maybe the most popular characters that you might know, but we're going to dive a lot deeper into the Mandalorian culture. Although we would love to see exactly if there's any type of references to Boba Fett, because you remember maybe not even that many years ago there was talks of development of a Boba Fett movie, and I think they kind of scrapped that idea because we've seen pretty much the origin story exactly of Boba Fett from the Clone Wars, and that kind of set it in stone, where it was basically Jango Fett had already decided to build his clone army, and he kind of held one to the side that didn't have the accelerated growth development and took him on as his son, because necessarily Boba Fett isn't Jango Fett's son, he's more so just a clone. Number 2, now Pedro Pascal's character as the Mandalorian, as we're going to dive deeper into this Mandalorian culture, we kind of see exactly bits and pieces of what's happening with himself. Of course, he's a victim of the Great Purge, which basically in Mandalore, which was torn apart by Civil War, and then pretty much was if you've ever watched Clone Wars or Rebels, the Death Watch basically took over Mandalore, and then started the Great Purge, as to where the Separatists started to come in, and they were all living in these dome cities. And it seems like his family was of course victims of it, and he was kind of torn apart, and he decided to join apart and have the warrior traits that the Mandalorians are pretty much known for. So you see sort of these clips where there's this one in particular where he collects his bounty, and the reward that he's seeking is a sword of steel that the Mandalorians of course are known to having, and all he wanted was basically a shoulder brace. But then he was asked kind of what's his tribe, and he said that's basically not to be recognized at the moment right now, but we're going to see a little bit more piece by piece. It seems like the more bounties that he acquires a piece of armor, and if we've seen from the trailers on and on, we see that his armor tends to build up a little bit more than what we see generally from the original first episode. So I like to see more of that, and we might get a somewhat of a sign of exactly who this person is what he derives from, what clan he derives from, as from the Mandalorian culture, or even from the planet of Mandalore. And also note, even though Boba Fett and Jango Fett were pretty much our only signals into the cinematic universe, we kind of got bits and gigantic pieces of the Mandalorian culture if you watch Clone Wars and Rebels. The last one was that big reveal, and spoiler warning again if anybody has not watched the episode, but it seems as though Werner Herzog's character sent him on a bounty to collect something in particular, but it was a life. And Werner Herzog seems to be like an old Empire government official, and he said that he wanted this thing alive. So when himself and the IG-11 battle droid tend to go in, the IG-11 says that we are supposed to kill this life form, whereas of course he was just told that we had to keep it alive, and it turns out to be a species of Yoda. Now in this sense, we tend to think, okay, it's not necessarily a clone of Yoda, but we've known throughout like intricate stories that the Empire has been stealing Force sensitive children for eons. Who knows what they've been using them for? Maybe they've just been like holding them as slaves, maybe they've just been keeping them, maybe the government has been using them to find a better sense of what the Jedi and what the Force entails. But we never really got another type of species familiar with Yoda other than Yaddle, who was like a member of the Jedi Council. So who's to say if there was some mysterious love child out there from Yoda and Yaddle that just happens to be 50 years old, 7 years after the Return of the Jedi, 7 years after the Empire has fallen, and is now fallen into the hands of the Mandalorian. But let me know your thoughts, man, because I think this is going to be a lot to build on. The Mandalorian looks good so far, and as much as they have to build up the story, it should be good to see. It's a good step forward. But let me know what you think. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to us at the Party Nerds YouTube page. Hit me up, Grandmaster Facts, FAQS, on IG and Twitter, and stay tuned for more developments. Party Nerds go.